This is Impact Wrestling's X Division champion, JoshAlexander, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
The following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time
It's theater time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
for the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool. You're where it's at. You smell like me.
Tune in each and every week.
You better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The interactive interview,
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview. Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
interactive wrestling radio,
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio. Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
The Blaze,
Blaze 1260 AM.
The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze.
The Blaze Rock.
and a lot of other names.
Weekend Warrior of Wrestling.
The Pile Driver.
The EPA Wrestling Center.
Street Count Wrestling.
The Hours Lab.
But it's all one show, the Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter. Wrestling Epicenter, dude. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
I could care less.
It all starts
What a rush. Oh, Boomer Sooner.
Thank you very much.
I got 2 words for you. Thumbs down. Breaking necks and cashing checks. I've heard a lot about you guys.
Check it out. Get out of my face. You win!
But I'm desperately out of time.
So what you gonna do when Blaze-a-mania runs wild on you?
now.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. Joining us on the Newsmaker line is the reigning and defending Impact Wrestling X Division champion of the world, the walking weapon, JoshAlexander. Are you with me, Josh?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I've been a fan of yours for many years, and I got to tell you, though, of all the titles that I thought you would hold, I don't know that the X Division would be the one that I would have necessarily pointed at and said would be your forte. How does it feel to be the Impact Wrestling World X Division champion?
Oh, it feels great. It's funny that you say that because I have said it in a couple interviews already that the X Division title is the one I've had my eyes on for my entire career.
Really? See, it's about no limits, not weight limits, not about, any particular style either. You definitely don't fit the cruiserweight style as it was, but you do a lot of different stuff too, more of a match style.
Yeah, I think we need to describe or just lock down what the X Division is to people. I think Impact itself has said no limits for years, and that's because there's no weight limits on this. Samoa Joe was one of the greatest X Division competitors of all time, and he was near 300 pounds.
Right, exactly.
To me, the X Division is, when I was a fan growing up, watching TNA, watching Impact Wrestling, anytime that graphic came up and you knew this was an X Division match, whether it was for the title or not, you knew you were going to get to see badass pro wrestling. You're going to see guys go out there and do whatever they can to make sure that everybody got their money's worth and steal the show. And to me, that's what it is now, and that's what I look forward to making it become even more moving forward.
Very cool, very cool. And the precursor to you winning the title was that classic match. I even mentioned it to D'Lo Brown. What a match that was. The singles match you had with TJP on Impact leading in to you winning the title. Thoughts on that match and memories of that match? And do you realize that of all the matches that D'Lo's called thus far, he said that's been his favorite?
D'Lo did mention that to me in passing, and it's pro wrestling, so you don't tend to believe everything people tell you. There's a recency bias in mind and all this other stuff. To me, TJP is probably the best opponent I've ever stepped foot in a ring with, ever. We've had 3 matches now in Impact Wrestling, and every single one has been regarded as a classic. Everyone has been regarded as exceptional. And to me, like, that feeling is immediate. Right now, especially with no crowds, you don't get that instant response from fans. You don't know by the crowd reaction if you're having a good match. But like the second I walk through the curtain after having a match with TJP, I know it's something special right away. There's just this feeling in the air, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I'd say he's probably the best opponent I've ever had.
Awesome. And it's got to be a little different for you now after being a tag wrestler for just so long. You guys were the longest reigning Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions in history, and that covers a lot of ground. Was it difficult to not have the crutch of having a partner to tag out to?
No, not at all. I can happily thank. Like, there was nerves, clearly. I'm not gonna front and say there was no nerves, because all of a sudden, after 2 years in Impact Wrestling being very successful in the tag division, I had to learn how to walk on my own 2 feet on my own, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So there was nerves, but I knew that I had 14 years before I joined Impact Wrestling all over the world for many different promotions and high caliber matches with some of the best wrestlers of all time. So I had plenty of experience as a singles competitor, and I knew that the second I got to be on my own 2 feet, so to speak, in that ring, I was going to be able to show the world that.
Very cool, very cool. And let's talk a little bit about the legacy of the North, because you guys were the longest reigning tag champs in Impact history, like I mentioned a moment ago. That has to mean a lot to you and has to weigh heavy on you that you were a part of something that was so classic to Impact.
Yeah, like I've made the comment before in promos and stuff saying that we just wanted to go down in the history books as one of the greatest of all time. And we've done so now. And I know it was a promo line, but it's also like it's real. That's a real thing. That's a feather in my cap that I can hold on to for the rest of my life, knowing that I'm in the history books and I'm going to be remembered as one of the best tag teams to ever step foot in one of the best wrestling companies the world's ever seen.
Very cool. Was it a scary thought when Ethan Page exited Impact Wrestling to know that you would have to go it on your own?
Yeah, and it was only a scary thought in the sense that opportunities don't come along all the time in pro wrestling. So no matter who's in charge and who's booking and all this stuff, there's always the uncertainty of them, not knowing who's making the decision when to give an opportunity. And I just had to wait my turn. And luckily it came very quickly, and I was able to showcase what I could do and, kind of solidify myself as a single star pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But initially going into like Hard to Kill, I had a pre-show match with Brian Myers. I didn't know if anybody in Power was going to be like, oh, this Josh has something, on his own. Maybe we can do something with him. It's just, it's getting those opportunities and just trying to, hit home runs every single time. That's what you need to do.
Absolutely. And I think, by the way, you flourished in these singles opportunities. So I've really enjoyed what you've been up to over the past, gosh, can you believe it, about 4, 5, 6 months now. So that's incredible. Let's talk a little bit about where Ethan ended up and Impact Wrestling and how it relates to Impact Wrestling. Could you ever see yourself maybe crossing paths with him again, given AEW and Impact Wrestling having a working relationship with one another?
Yeah, I think that this whole Forbidden Door business and stuff, the uncertainty of what matchups could possibly happen and fans speculating, I think that there's too many dream matches from a tag team scenario to be left on the table and not capitalize on if these companies are truly working together, because I think there is a lot of fans that want to see the North against FTR, the North against the Young Bucks, the North against Jurassic Express. You want to see all these matchups that you couldn't have seen in Impact Wrestling when we were a tag team. So I think it would be a good business decision to have that happen eventually, but the timing has to be right. Everything has to be right. And, you just got to keep trucking along and never say never.
Awesome. The next major pay-per-view, of course, is coming up in July, and that's going to be Slammiversary. Do you have any idea what you'll be up to on that faithful night in July?
I have no idea what I might be doing. Hopefully I'm still X Division champion by that time, and I can defend my championship on what I think is going to be the biggest stage Impact Wrestling has ever had. I think it's only grown since last year's Slammiversary with the return of the Good Brothers and the Motor City Machine Guns and so on and so forth. You had this just influx of talent that came in last year, and there was a buzz about Impact Wrestling, and they've continued to build on that now for nearly a year since, and we've had Kenny Omega come in and, you know, flip everything on its head and take our Impact World Championship. And it's only bringing more eyes to the product. So I think now with the speculation that Impact Wrestling is going to do once again what it did last year, anniversary, and bring in all these unpredictable scenarios and names, I think it's only going to help get eyes on the product. So hopefully I'm defending my championship so I can show what I can do on a bigger stage.
Absolutely. And part of what got such attention last year was the same thing that is almost presenting itself this year in a different way, and that is the available talent that might or might not be showing up to increase the Impact Wrestling roster. Do you have any thoughts on who you might like to see or who we might see heading into Slammiversary that came from another company?
I mean, personally, from like my inner fan perspective, I would love to see Samoa Joe come and try to, you know, stake his claim as the king of the X Division. That would personally, you know, be something that would satisfy me greatly. But I think there's a lot of names there. Samurai Del Sol is a guy that could come in. Before he went to WWE as Kalisto, I think people were regarding him as the next Rey Mysterio Jr., and somehow that got lost in translation when he was there. So I think he can, you know, come make some noise. I think the Iconics are great. I think Chelsea Green is great. I think they could all offer something great to the Knockouts division. So, like, I'm just like you. I'm only speculating. I have no inside information on any of this. I haven't asked any of these questions. I just want to be pleasantly surprised with everybody else.
Awesome. You mentioned already the lack of a live crowd, and when I watch a baseball game, it's kind of cool because on one game I got 20,000 people there, and in the next game there's nobody there, and it's just an interesting dynamic. As we're starting to see things slowly go in the right direction and people starting to open up and shows starting to have crowds again, how eager are you to get back out in front of a live crowd?
So very eager. Like I couldn't think of anything else I'd want more from a professional perspective. To me, wrestlers are much like comedians in the sense that you need a live audience there. You need them reacting. And we've shown in the past year that, sure, we don't need it per se, but without having that immediacy of reaction and feedback from a crowd, you really don't know what you're doing. You don't know if anything's good until it airs, and then you're just going off social media pretty much, right? So having a live crowd to play off of again is, I think it's going to be the best thing ever, and I'm looking forward to whatever it can happen.
I think it's going to add so much to what you guys have been doing over the past year. I think the crowds are going to be bigger than ever and louder than ever, and I can't wait to see it. I guess my final question was going to be, and I asked this of Petey Williams a number of years ago, but Impact Wrestling, you mentioned it already, is on the upswing now. People are starting to talk about it more and more and more each and every week, thanks to so many different components going into why. What's your thoughts on Impact Wrestling as it heads through 2021, and where do you think we're headed?
I think it's only going to grow bigger and better. Since I came into the company, and I wasn't the catalyst, that's not what I'm trying to say, but 2.5 years ago when I joined the company, I've seen nothing but growth since I've been here. Sure, you've seen people leave, but you've seen people come in, and I've seen nothing but growth and positivity from the wrestling community towards Impact Wrestling. And I think it's a testament to every man and woman in that locker room, because we're all very passionate professional wrestlers, and we want to succeed personally, but we know that if we're going to succeed, we have to make Impact Wrestling succeed. So we're all on the same page with that, and I think it's only going to grow bigger now because we've assembled one of the best rosters for that I could imagine.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this with me. And, of course, Impact Wrestling airs every Thursday night on Access TV. And, of course, the big pay-per-view coming up in July. So we can't wait to see what Josh Alexander's doing then. Before I let you go, can I ask for one last favor from you?
Sure.
You probably already know what it's going to be. Do you mind if I ask for a station ID, just saying this is Josh Alexander and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter?
No problem.
Want me to do the whole countdown?
Do you want? No, you're good. I can go whatever if you want.
Sure, yeah. Put whatever flair on it you want to put on it. I'll shut up too.
No problem. This is Impact Wrestling's X Division champion, Josh Alexander, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
What's up, everybody? This is Impact Wrestling superstar, All Ego Ethan Page, and you are inside the Wrestling Epicenter.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
I'm to listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself. Most people don't hung up on me.
We had a lovely conversation.
What a show.
Oh, mercy, Daddy.
On the radio dial. Don't hang up. Bye-bye.